SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
Every time I sit in for Richard, I hear the song and I want to put this as my morning ringtone, and I always forget. I've got to do that here in a minute. I'm Scott Sands, sitting in for Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming everywhere on supertalk.fm. It's great to be here this morning. Lance, how are you? Good morning. I told you off the air that I was sleeping hard and overslept a little bit. Getting used to these morning hours sometimes is an adjustment, even though I'm usually up around this time anyway. But I woke up and all of my alarms were going off, and I had no idea what time it was.
Well, you got a round of golf in yesterday. I
did, and it's not like I was drinking yesterday
I was
either.
hoping you were having fun. It looked like y'all were having a good time. So
have a great time. Look, I am horrible at golf. I love to play. I love to be outside. You can walk around, smoke a cigar, drink a beer if you want, and still have it considered a sport. But I've been playing for, 25, 30 years now, and have not improved at all.
Yeah.
I used to play golf with my buddy Darren, who was really good on the coast. And I always joke that, I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to practice. I'm going to get some lessons, and I'm going to beat you one day. And almost 30 years has passed, and there is no chance I would ever beat him. I am just, it probably, if I counted every stroke, it would probably take me 10 just to get to the green. You're not hitting straight off the tee.
You're not hitting it pure, you're saying, yeah.
I played better yesterday than I think I've ever played in my life. I can hit the ball. I can drive pretty straight. I've just got no strength in my drive, and it probably only goes maybe 75. There have been times where my drive off the tee box have actually gone backwards. I don't even know how that's physically possible, but I've hit the ball straight up and it's landed behind me.
I've seen it.
I have hit golf carts that were parked behind me.
Yeah.
I have nailed the tee box marker. I've hit a drive from the whites and hit the women's tee, and it's bounced back and nearly killed me. I have hit some shots that I don't know through the physics would defy some of the horrible shots that I have made.
Yeah, we'll have to get Elon to figure that one out. Huh?
I do like to get out to play, though. I am. This is a serious breach in golf etiquette, I know, but I have been known to tee the ball up in the middle of the fairway to hit my 3-wood.
That happens. Don't feel bad about that. Yeah.
I am real. So I've joined this Thursday golf league just with some friends, and it's perfect for me. It's 9 holes, and I got to tell you, Lance, like a year and a half ago, by the 13th hole, I would have given up anyway. I was about 100 pounds heavier, and just my back would start to hurt by the 10th hole. By the time we would make the turn and get a hot dog, I would be tired and just maybe get out the putt. There was no point in me driving. I wasn't helping anybody. But now that I've dropped 100 pounds, I feel fine. And
my golf rounds I can't play with anybody else because I'm so impatient. So I sprint. When I play, I sprint from the golf cart to the tee box, from the tee box back to the golf cart, then I sprint everywhere. So I want to get done as fast as I can. I have no desire to spend 5-6 hours walking around a park looking for a little round ball. Now, I love playing, but I just don't have the patience to get through 18 holes at a snail's pace. So I like going to places when I get an opportunity where there's really not a lot of traffic. And I don't care if it's a goat ranch, as long as I can play fast. I hate playing slow. I can't hit the ball.
6 hours.
Yeah, I can't do it.
There are some tournaments that I'll play in some scrambles. Believe it or not, as bad as I am, I do get invited to play in scrambles.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're a lot of fun to play with. I mean, it'd be a comedy of errors the whole time.
I think that's why they have me on their team.
Why not? I mean, I'd bring you along for the fun.
My short game has actually gotten pretty good. If I'm within 50, 60 yards, I can chip fairly well.
I'm terrible at the putting. I can short game it all day long. I better make it from chipping because I can't putt it.
I think that's why I'm on the scrambles, is because I'm a really good putter. So I'll lead off, and if I don't make it, I at least can show a pretty good line.
Yeah, now that's where you win. Is putting is where the money's won there.
This Thursday night golf league I'm in, it's about a dozen guys, maybe 20 guys, and we don't even keep score. We'll play best ball if we won, and it can run through 9 holes in a couple of hours on a Thursday afternoon, and it's for me, that's perfect. But I don't like, now that I've dropped this weight, my swing has improved, and I was actually hitting the ball fairly well last night. But I just don't know what a good swing should feel like, because I've never really taken lessons. Friends who are good at golf have told me everything I'm doing wrong, and I can't remember how to grip the handle, how to bend my knees, how close I should get to the ball,
well, when
where my feet should be
all
pointed.
that stuff, don't even worry about it when you're playing golf, because if you're trying to do all that playing, your brain gets fried. You just go out there and hit it whenever you're playing. But yeah, practice, it definitely is nice to have a range and somebody that can kind of keep you lined up right, and don't do this and do that. I've had some lessons when I was younger, and they did definitely help if you wanted to learn how to turn a ball over, or push it a little bit.
I don't. I was joking yesterday. How do you put backspin on a ball? Well, first of all, you've got to hit it, Scott. So that's step one. Step one is you got to be able to hit the ball. Don't worry about the backspin. Somebody on the C-Spire text line saying that they've shanked one into the parking lot full of cars.
Oh, I've hit them in everywhere you could hit them, and I'm a pretty decent. I mean, I can strike it. I've been playing most of my life. Grew up with golfers, but I can tell you, I've hit everything on a golf course. Everything you could possibly hit, because I'm like a baseball player playing golf. I want to see absolutely how hard and how far I can hit it. I want the ball to be cut and bent and broken when I'm done with it. And so when you take a swing like that, I mean, the snap hook is the one that gets me the worst. When you snap one and it goes way off to the left and never went straight for at least 20 feet. It just went straight left. I mean, I've hit the golf carts, hoselled balls. I mean, so yeah, I'm with you on that. And then you just go, okay, let's get a new ball. I'm not even going after that one.
So that's what's so fun about scrambles, though, too, is that somebody will, you get a couple of guys on there that can hit the ball straight, and then you got the power hitters that once you get one in the fairway, they can let it rip and see what happens. And some of those scores that come in on the scrambles are just
they're ridiculous, aren't they?
How can you come in minus 30
and then when you're playing it, see,
I
don't like the scramble mindset sometimes, because you get to buy all these mulligans. If you're going to play a scramble, there shouldn't be mulligans. You got 4 dudes there to help you with that. You don't need free shots that you've bought. And then you got dudes, give me $100 worth of mulligans. Yeah, I mean, that's why you've got a negative 35 score, I mean, let's be realistic. But, I mean, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. But, yeah, the mulligans, I'm never one of those that's like, yeah, give me 50 mulligans, live with it.
Or in a scramble, you just take them and don't even pay for them, even though it's for a charity.
That's why the scores are not really believable. It's kind of like, back when Al Gore would say something, you knew there was maybe 2% truth to it. I invented the internet and I walk 40 miles a day, and you're like, all right, yeah. You probably walk to the mailbox and use the internet, but that's kind of the way mulligans work, right? It's an honor system.
Scotty Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau and some of those guys just make it look so effortless and easy.
Have you ever walked around with a PGA or a second tier type of tournament and watched those guys, how good they are?
No, I've been invited to play the media day scrambles before some big tournaments, and the course was so nice that I just passed on the opportunity. Let me just play some dog track and I'll be fine.
Yeah, watching guys that the tournament that comes through here that is at the Country Club, Jackson Country Club, is an excellent one, and it is done by. It's been here for years and years and years, and you get a great group of players that come through, and I've been blown away. I mean, somebody played golf my whole life. Watching those guys strike the ball every time, no matter the conditions, whether it's damp or windy or sunny or what, the way they strike the ball is just so perfect. And I've probably taken 2 million swings, and I can't even come close to looking like that. You either have it, I think, or you don't. When it comes to the pro quality, those guys are amazing.
At my age, maybe I should take some lessons, but I don't expect improvement at this point.
Oh, no, you'll improve. You'll improve. You'll slice off a few strokes, but it may not look great on your score.
Look, when I'm scoring 160, taking a few strokes off isn't going to make that much of a difference. Let me just go out there and have fun. Father Joe's going to join us later this morning. We'll look at the installation of Pope Leo XIV, which is Sunday. State Rep Price Wallace will join us. And Superintendent of the State Department of Education, Dr. Lance Evans, all coming up today. I'm Scott Sands, in for Richard Cross. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. You can find me on X as well, at Scott Sands Media, and the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395.
Things I couldn't do before, now I know I can. And I'm leaving here a better man. Yes, I'm leaving here a better man.
From the Venable.
Want to know what's happening in Mississippi politics?
Yes.
You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
You were the first thing that I thought of when I thought I drank you off my mind.
How y'all doing? Good morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. I'm Scott Sands, filling in for Richard today. You can find me on X at Scott Sands Media. Lance is here as well. I was just looking up to see if there were any of the college baseball games last night, and USM has really been on a hot streak. What is this, like 13 in a row?
I think it's 13 in a row, yes. We can start with Southern. Let's go with a little weather here so we can catch and make sure everybody knows what's happening. Oxford, 10% chance of showers and thunderstorms today after about 5, mostly cloudy, high near 87 degrees, little wind out there about 10 miles an hour out of the southwest. And this evening, you might have some showers mainly before about 3 a.m., mostly cloudy, low around 66 degrees. Chance of rain is 70% today in the Oxford, Mississippi area. So if you're making your way out, make sure you got a umbrella. And we got a little weather for you here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Cloudy through mid-morning, gradual clearing, high near 93 degrees. Scott, Lord. I felt like it yesterday around here. South winds about 10 miles an hour, 20-mile-an-hour gusts might cool things off a little bit. But you have a little bit of a cloudy, increasing clouds throughout the day. So Saturday, Saturday
feels like temperature is like 100.
Man, it felt like 100 yesterday. It really did. It was cooking. In Hattiesburg, you do have a chance of some showers tomorrow, and then we have our. I think I did Corinth. Yeah, Corinth, Mississippi, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms before 11 a.m. today. And you'll have a chance of precipitation about 20%. So not a ton there. But as you go through the evening, chance of precipitation does go up to 80%. So if you're up there in the North Mississippi area, it looks like you may get some showers this evening. So just plan in advance for that. And then back to your point, yes, the Golden Eagles have been on fire. Absolutely on fire. And they took it to Louisiana last night, 11-3 at Pete Taylor Park. 7 p.m. game, and they worked them pretty easily there. I'm sorry, it was Troy, 4-3, and they're at Troy. I was up 1. Yeah, they're in the very low part of Bama down there. And remember going down to Troy in those days, good team. They were third coming in, Louisiana Lafayette and Troy and Coastal Carolina. Seems that's how Southern finished the season, was basically with 2 of the 3 best teams in the Sun Belt. They'll get back on the diamond today at 6 o'clock. And that game last night, 4-3. One of those, you got to win those, right, Scott? I mean, if you're going to be a good team, you got to win the 4-3 games. And they did that. Both teams had an error last night, but Southern Miss got the bulk of their runs in the 4th inning, and then they got one more in the 8th to kind of nudge it. 9 hits for Southern Miss, 7 hits for Troy. And the win goes to Colby Allen, 6-4. So that will start them off for the weekend. Ole Miss win, convincingly last night against a very good number 6 Auburn team. Ole Miss jumped out pretty quick. There were 7 runs in the first 3 innings. Auburn put up 2 in the 4th and then 2 in the 6th, but Ole Miss kind of easily won that one, 11-5. Both teams had an error, about the same on the hits. Gunnar Dennis got the W. J.P. Nunn got the loss for Auburn. And then Mississippi State absolutely boat raced Missouri, 25-7. That's not a misprint, folks.
That's almost close to a mercy rule.
Yeah, that's the thing. What Auburn beat South Carolina 26-2 a week ago, and so you got a close one here with 25-7. So
right,
yeah, Mississippi State hammered out 23 hits. Got 25 runs on 23 hits. Stone Simmons gets the W in that game. And if you look at the box score on that one, I mean, I think everybody, including people from other teams, may have played in this game because it probably went 4 hours. But Hunter Hines, he homered late in the game, and it's one of those things. He's homered again, and again. He was just home runs left and right. It looked like batting practice out there for Mississippi State. They will get back on the diamond today in Columbia, Mizzou at about 6 p.m. Hopefully the rain and such will hold off. It looked like on the radar, there may be some rain south of there, but I don't see really anything around Columbia right now. But there could be some lightning and things like that, given that part of the country where you got Arkansas, Missouri kind of meeting up. There's some red and some fast-moving storms coming through there, but nothing very big. So hopefully they won't have any delays today. But, 3 wins by the 3 big boys.
I don't really follow baseball that closely, but it seems like the state's big 3 are going to advance and make it a little bit further out of the conference series.
All 3 have a chance, yes. State really needs to take care of business this weekend. They have an opportunity to take Missouri to the woodshed 3 times. Missouri had not won a game until they went to Texas A&M last weekend and swept Texas A&M. That's one of those things you're like, what? Okay. You hadn't won an SEC game all year, and second week from the end, you sweep somebody. So State going to Columbia took care of business in a convincing fashion last night, has an opportunity to really do some big things and end up at 500 in SEC play. And that's after you fired your coach. So since the firing of Lamonis, State has played really, really good baseball.
So sometimes something that dramatic can gel a team and bring them together.
It can.
And certainly both. I was looking at one of the texts on the C-Spire text line from the Sports Talk show yesterday, and it just really confused me because they were, I guess, State could drop one of the games and still advance.
They'll be fine. I mean, yeah, State needs to. If they go 2-1 on the weekend, they're going to be fine. They have really righted the ship here in the latter half of the season, winning games, beating teams you should beat. They'll get into the SEC tournament. Really, all of this is seeding at this moment. I mean, you can't even really look at it in the SEC standings because everybody is kind of jammed up in the middle there with only a few teams at the top with. Basically, you have Texas, Arkansas, LSU, and then some form of Vanderbilt, Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee. So after that, everybody's pretty even with Ole Miss, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Oklahoma jammed in there in the middle. So all of these games this weekend are going to have some kind of seeding when it comes down to the SEC tournament starting Tuesday. You get a double bye if you're a top 4 team. You get a single bye if you're one of the 5 through 8 teams. So you would like to be in that top 8 group if you're going to go into the SEC tournament because it is a wild ride in a big stadium. The heat is really starting to turn up now in the atmosphere. And then obviously this is where seeding and hope with your regional advancement goes. So all of our teams in the state have an opportunity. Mississippi State being the one kind of at 32-20 right now, 13-15. I wouldn't say that's a guarantee to get a regional. However, if they take care of business against Columbia, Missouri, the Tigers, who have struggled, they come out of this 14-16, 15-15, and go and have a decent little, at least play decently in the SEC tournament. I'm not saying go win 3 or 4, but they should be okay. They've had a tough schedule, and they've played well in the second half, and the committees usually look at that. Ole Miss, on the other hand, is really they need this weekend because they've played poorly for about 4 out of the last 5 weeks in terms of winning series. So Ole Miss, against a top 10 team like Auburn, needs to take care of business. Started the weekend off right. That got them to 15-13. So one more win, and they'll be over. They're guaranteed to have a over 500 SEC mark, and that probably would give them an opportunity at hosting a regional if they go 2-1 this weekend. However, they probably could use another W if they got over to the SEC tournament to kind of guarantee that regional seeding or hosting opportunity. So now Southern Miss, on the other hand, they've just played amazing. So
yeah, this is the time of the year where you want that momentum to kick in and go into the postseason strong.
Well, yeah, their Friday night guy, J.B. Middleton, has really turned it on here in the latter half. They have such a deadly lineup, and it works very well together. They play a very good brand of defense, and they're extremely well coached. So this team, out of the three teams in Mississippi that we would call the Big Three, I would say Southern Miss has really put themselves in a position right now to have a kind of juggernaut type finish, and it's how you play well, at the end of the season. And Southern is really turning it on. The other thing, again, Mississippi State, you can't count them out, man. Those guys have played really good baseball in the last few weeks, and kudos to them and the interim coach for getting everybody pulling in the right direction here as you get to the back end of this season, because it could the train could have come off the tracks, right, Scott? I mean, everything could have blown up.
Yeah, absolutely. But I've watched some clips from the sports talk shows on SuperTalk Mississippi. Does this interim coach have a chance to get the job, especially if the team's coming together in the postseason? They're going to take their time making an announcement, I'm sure.
There's one guy that I think that they should hire, and most people that have listened here know who I think that is, and that's the Auburn coach, Butch Thompson. He has a background at State. He's done more at Auburn with less, doesn't have a huge NIL, beautiful little stadium, but nothing like what you see at the Mecca of college baseball in Starkville. And so to me, that hopefully they'll go out and get the guy they want. But hey, the guy they're doing it now, he's winning games, and I'm sure that will give him an opportunity to interview for the job. So that I'm not sure, but who will get it. But I think Butch Thompson's
or at
a
least
natural
advance
fit.
to another job somewhere else.
Yeah, he's
bring in somebody new.
He's done a great job in the roles he's played, and now in the interim, I mean, this should be a great interview for him if he wants to be a head coach, because he's doing a fantastic job. In a difficult situation.
Yeah, it's never good never an easy time to step in and try to
the last
keep
time
the
they
team
did
together.
This, Scott, the last time they had an interim that took over in the midseason, that Coach Henderson was a pitching coach at Kentucky beforehand, came here, State, and then he took them to the World Series. So don't rule out that opportunity repeating itself.
Love to see it. 601-879-4395. The C Spire text line is open. I found a story online somewhere about some funny town names, and I went through and asked Grok to give me some in Mississippi. Lance, I'm sure you can add to this list too. I'll share those with you next year on Super Talk Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome to the show.
Mornings with Richard Cross. I'm Scott Sands on Super Talk Mississippi. Lance, we didn't even have a chance to mention the NHL and NBA playoffs. I fell asleep watching the Hurricanes win the whatever level they're at. Yeah. It seems like the NHL, like the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs, last for months.
They do. As soon as they're over, they start up again, I think. So.
It seems that way, and I don't know about you. I can't watch the NBA. I do like why. I've never really been a hockey fan, but I've started to get into it a little bit more, and playoff hockey is the best. Like I'll start watching during the Stanley Cup unless there's a game on at the lounge or something. But the
lounge,
I
like that. Yeah.
The cigar lounge where I go, they'll watch the hockeys.
Hey, well, I was going to say, considering you mentioned that, I will say that the Thunder dropped one to the Nuggets, 119-107. Series tied 3-3 in the West semifinals. And then if we move on over to the next, to the East, Celtics-Knicks, that one is tied 3-2. That'll be a today game, at Friday. That is 7 p.m. if you're interested. And then on hockey, Hurricanes 3-1 over the Capitals, and the Jets 4-0 over the Stars. So that is second round East and second round West is what you're dealing with there. And I'm like you. It's great sport to watch, but I know nothing about any of it other than when the buzzer goes off and somebody scores or there's an amazing brawl. And my favorite sport where you can have a fight and then you get right back to playing, and that's legal. Yeah, like man, we need to do this more often. I mean, it's just,
back to it. I started to enjoy hockey when the Seawolves came to Biloxi, and I really didn't understand the sport then. Minor league hockey, I think, is great, and you get to see a lot of stars coming through. But the intensity and the physicality of the NHL is what makes that so great. NBA just seems like a bunch of egotistical shot callers that just want to play for themselves and not the team.
Well, there's a lot of shooting. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shooting and not a lot of defense. I was going to say, so I wanted to reverse back though, because we were talking about all the home runs that State had hit and how they're playing. I couldn't even count that high. I don't have enough fingers, but Reed Stallman, he had 2, Ace Reese had 2, Noah Sullivan had 1, Hunter Hines had 2 in the 9th inning. And then Joe Powell had 1. One thing I was going to say about Hunter Hines, back when I was in college, I played with a bunch of guys that had played about 10 years before me, all of them at Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Delta State. And Hunter Hines' dad, Richie Hines, he was an amazing hitter, lefty, and he could hit it a mile, man. So these guys were all about 30. And a guy named Chad Bradford and I, who Chad spent many years in the big leagues, we were their number 1 and 2 pitcher. And we had more fun playing with those dudes. It was like just baseball. It was sandlot baseball, playing with the coolest older guys that we'd all grew up idolizing. So it's really cool getting to see a guy like Hunter Hines, who looks just like his dad, having a type of career that he has had at Mississippi State, setting home run records and all that. It just really does my heart good because I have such a great bit of nostalgia, from that time of his father and Tracy Eccles and Jeff Long and all these great guys that we got to play ball with. And it really was just something unique, that experience. So I just wanted to highlight, it's really great to see these guys. I'm 50, so seeing all these guys that I played against have kids that are playing ball at Southern Miss, Ole Miss State, all over. I mean, it is just really the coolest thing ever. And so congratulations to Hunter Hines for the season and career he's had, and for the night, too. 2 bombs in the 9th inning, my friend. Goodness gracious. That's cool. That's pretty cool.
And Thomas and Greenwood on the C-Spire text line. So all they needed to do was fire the coach? Yeah. Sometimes that is all you need to do to light a fire under them and get them going. So we'll have some serious stuff in the next couple of hours of the show. Joel and Anand Samy will join us to talk about the president's Middle East trip right after 7 o'clock.
I wonder if they, instead of a jet, they should have sent him back with one of those camels and that rug that they put over the back of him. That's luxury, man.
You don't know what he's going to come back with at this point. He's over there making some deals. I've already seen some headlines coming across on X this morning about some news that's going to be broken on the Iran nuclear deal that he's pushing for.
Yeah, he's probably telling him, like, hey, I know where the nuke facility is. We've got these new weapons that are really cool and big, and they do a lot.
We can take it out whenever we want. Don't make us do it.
Just kind of say it
voluntarily. Step back. If we don't do it, Israel will do it.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what
you were listening to
next hour.
The other day talking about, we have all these big weapons, the greatest weapons in the history of mankind, and
biggest
it's just
weapons,
it's biggest greatest weapons ever, and they're really expensive. It seems like a huge waste of money, but you kind of have to do this stuff, and but yeah, he was setting the tone right there for what this meeting in the with the Iranians is all about, which I love the way he plays that. Honestly, some people may not really like Trump or they love him. He can't do any wrong or he can never do anything right. But the way he goes about negotiating is literally the art of the deal. It is.
It's so chaotic at times.
But that's how you win. That's create chaos and then tame it.
Keep them on their heels, and don't let them know what your strategy is. Mm-hmm. I thought we would keep things kind of late for this first hour of the show on a Friday morning.
Fun.
I get a lot of articles in my RSS feed, and this one stuck out to me because I know that there are plenty around the state. Parade Magazine put out a list of their funniest town names throughout the U.S., and you've heard about many of these, like Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, Ho-Ho Cuss in New Jersey, Normal, Alabama, Santa Claus, Indiana. I asked Grok to give me some of the quirky town names through the state of Mississippi, and I'm sure you can chime in, Lance, or on the C Spire text line. Hot coffee is one of my favorites.
Know it well.
In Covington County, named after a store that served the best hot coffee around for everybody traveling between Natchez and Mobile. There's a town in Newton County called Chunky.
Know it, yeah.
Named after the river.
Mm-hmm.
Delo in Simpson County.
Too dang low. You can't build nothing around here. It's too dang low. That's how the name.
In Atala County, Possum Neck.
No Possum Neck, yeah.
I don't think I've ever been to Possum Neck.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you've never been to Possum Neck, you may have driven through it and didn't know you were driving
and
through
didn't
Possum.
realize.
Yeah, there's a lot of places like that they're communities per se, and they're great spots.
In Sharkey County, there's Panther Burn.
Know it well. I hunt over that way. Yes, Panther Burn.
Named after an actual panther incident, although local tales might suggest otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you get some information from artificial intelligence when you're asking questions, and it may not always be accurate, but it couldn't tell me what that actual panther incident was because I was curious when it told me that. When Grok said it was named after an actual panther incident,
mm-hmm.
I wanted to know what happened, but the AI wasn't able to tell me.
Yeah, AI doesn't have all the story, huh? It didn't. Paul Harvey didn't do a story on it for it to mine, I guess.
There's a town in LaFleur County called Chicken Bone.
I don't know Chicken Bone. That sounds like one that I need to go visit, though. If they've got fried chicken there, I'm in, especially if it's in the Delta.
It sounds like it was like pulled from a barbecue menu. And by the way, it's National Barbecue Day. I saw it today.
Hey, and the funny thing, yesterday we mentioned McDonald's opened yesterday, but they opened as a in this day in history, it was like 1940 or something, but it opened as a barbecue restaurant.
The McDonald's?
The original McDonald's was a barbecue restaurant. It didn't do too well, so they shut her down and opened it back up as a hamburger joint. But,
Have you seen what was the movie
Founder.
with The Founder? That's such
Excellent
a great
movie, yeah.
I don't know how I feel about Ray Kroc after that movie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a baller, but I don't know if warming out the McDonald's though. Yeah, that's the part that got me. I think I can understand taking it to another level, but yeah, worming those guys out. That's
Brilliant businessman, failed at everything he had tried previously, but then kind of screwed over the
Big Mac,
the McDonald brothers. Darren and Jackson said Alligator and Midnight are a couple of his favorite.
Those are Delta towns. Yeah, I know Midnight and Alligator. You got Booger Den, Mississippi.
Booger Den.
Yeah.
That's on my list. That was
outside
my favorite.
Of Mentor City. Yeah, a friend of mine grew up there. Wasn't a whole lot of people growing up there, but he was one that did. And,
so Grok tells me that Booger Den comes from a local folklore or humorous take on a geographic feature. So exactly what would be the geographic feature of a booger den?
You got me. I never found out that. Yeah. There was one of those. It sounded like a booger bear or something. Don't go out there in those woods. There's a booger bear out there.
Look like a nose.
Okay.
I'm not really sure.
That makes sense.
That comes from.
Yeah. That's pretty close to Mentor
I honestly
City.
Don't know. But if you've got any more that you'd I'd love to hear what they are.
You got Shibuya.
Grok did not give me Shibuya.
It probably didn't know what it was, how to pronunciate it.
I mean, there's always names like Pascagoula and things like that, too, that are always kind of quirky and unique to the states. But Grok gave me a list of 10 in Mississippi. That's what Grok told me, and many more coming in on the C Spire text line, like Ignorant Ridge.
Don't know that one. That's a new one. Ignorant Ridge. I was born on Ignorant Ridge.
I think a lot of us were.
Yeah. I feel like that most of the time. Hey, I forgot my belt this morning when I got out of the truck coming into the building. I'm like, something feels different. My pants were about my ankles.
I told you I woke up late. I just threw on sweatpants. 601-879-4395 is the C Spire text line. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Scott Sands. You can find me on X at Scott Sands Media.
Find out what's happening across your state. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Lottery numbers are out. Big jackpot in Lotto America Saturday, $34.3 million, a $15.6 million cash value. The numbers Wednesday night, 2, 8, 9, 20, 42 with the star ball 3 and the all-star bonus multiplier 2. No jackpot winner, the Powerball either. The jackpot for that tomorrow night, $123 million with a cash value, almost $56 million and growing. The numbers Wednesday night, 4, 10, 24, 29, 53, Powerball 4, and the Power Play multiplier 3. So a couple of good jackpots building for tomorrow night's drawings there.
I can see the 2, 8, 9, 20, 42. I can see how you'd get that one on Lotto America. Nobody got it, but the Powerball, 4, 10, 24, 29, 53. I mean, whose numbers
That's
are
a pretty
there?
good spread.
Yeah, it's a spread there, isn't it? I mean, goodness. Double play.
So I usually do the random numbers when I put together the lottery pool for all of my guys.
You let the machine do it?
But when you're going to pick numbers manually, you don't want to pick a bunch of numbers that are too close to each other. Whereas that, I mean, I know it's all random, but you want a single digit number. You want something in the teens and the 20s and the 30s to try to increase your odds. But I don't think it really makes a difference as we saw with the Lotto America.
The odds are just astronomically high to lose. I mean, like with double play Wednesday, May the 14th, these numbers, 2, 44, 55, 56, 67. No way I would have gotten those with a Powerball of 5, so.
But the random numbers could generate that.
Yeah, they can pull that. I just, no way I'd win. I mean, what I'm saying? I'm not lucky like that. I'd have to, pick my numbers. There's no way AI or a machine would win for me, I can assure you. I just don't have that kind of luck.
Big Mega Millions, no jackpot on that. Drawing is tonight at $122 million of $54.8 million cash value. The last numbers drawn were Tuesday, 6, 29, 33, 47, 68. Mega Ball 20. See, that's a good spread of numbers.
All of my favorite numbers right there. Mississippi Match 5, you didn't have a jackpot yet. Up to $482,000. Very respectable. Make sure you buy your tickets because that one is rolling fast. And when it hits, you're going to go, man, I wish I'd have bought that Match 5 ticket. Well, those numbers from Thursday, 1, 10, 12, 15, and 30. You say, I could have got those. But nevertheless, you have to buy a ticket to win, right? And then
congratulations to the winners from yesterday's Pink Panther Diamond Triple Bonus Promotion drawing. One supersized drawing remains on Thursday, the 29th. There were winners in Vicksburg, and Jackson, and Tupelo, Bogachita, and Aberdeen. $15,000 winner in Vicksburg, 10K winner in Jackson, and a 5K winner in Jackson. Things are heating up as well with a sizzling summer cash from the Mississippi Lottery. Grab the $2 Heat Stroke, $5 Blazing Hot Bucks, and $10 Red Hot Cash. A's hottest games on sale now. Top prizes up to $200,000. Enter any non-winning hot game ticket into the Sizzling Summer Cash Bonus Promotion for your chance to win Cold Hard Cash, $500 to $25,000. 6 bonus drawings starting on May 21st. You can learn more about this bonus promotion and more at mslottery.com. Click the bonus promos tab. There were some winners yesterday in Cash 4. Gulfport woman won $843 on a ticket from Clark Oil Company in Biloxi. A McGee woman won $1,000 on a ticket from a tobacco market in McGee, and that's in the Match 5. And players from Gulfport, Hattiesburg, and Quitman each won $1,000 on tickets from Clark Oil. The Finish Line in Hattiesburg and the Mini Mart in Quitman. That's the $20 200X Cash Blitz winner.
Well, you got
from yesterday.
Here's another name up here with Bogachita. That's one of the
that's a good
town
one.
names, and then you also have Itabena and Bogachita. So those are a couple of good Native American names from Mississippi.
We got some more on the C Spire text line, like Buzzard Roost.
Yeah,
where?
Yeah, where is where? That's right. It's not where. It's where.
Buckatuna. Am I saying that one right? I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, Buckatuna and Shibuda. Those will throw you off a little bit. Shibuda will get a lot of play on the lottery. You'll see it pop up 2 or 3 times in a week. You're like, what? How many people live in Shibuda? But hey, enough of them that they win. But
enough of them that play the lottery, and that's what counts.
Yeah, Teoc is another one.
It's the center of the universe, according to
it can be.
601-879-4395 if you wanted to add to the list. This is a story that's been developing overnight on X, and we'll talk about it later this morning as we have time. The former head of the FBI, James Comer, on his social media, on his Instagram, shared a picture from the beach, which seems innocuous enough until you realize it was a shell outline that spelled out 8647, which is 8647, which many people, including apparently the Secret Service, Homeland Security, FBI, and others, are taking as a threat to President Trump. 86 as an attack. If you work in the restaurant industry, 86 the mac and cheese, or whatever the dish is that you're making. You're out of the macaroni and cheese. 86 the mac and cheese. You kill it on the menu. So they're seeing this as 8647, President Trump being the 47th president, as a possible threat that apparently the Secret Service is going to take serious, especially since it came from the former head of the FBI, who claims he didn't realize at the time what it meant. He thought it was just an interesting shell outline, which he apparently stumbled across and wanted to share on social media. More on that later this morning. We'll look at the president's trip to Saudi Arabia next.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
From the White House to your hometown, this is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Richard is off this morning. I'm Scott Sands. Thanks for having me. This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, payroll, whatever, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services come in. They can provide you a full range of employer services and a custom plan that fits you. Call today, 601-206-7966. Or go to mwgemployerservices.com. As I said, I'm Scott Sands. It's great to be here and great to be invited on SuperTalk Mississippi. You can find me on X at Scott Sands Media. President Trump deported the UAE earlier today, wrapping up his 4-day Middle Eastern trip that focused heavily on striking a bunch of business deals and luring investments to the U.S. He yesterday had floated the idea of going to Turkey while overseas to participate in peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. That didn't happen. Trump did say that he wants to meet with Vladimir Putin as soon as we can set it up, in his words. The final tour day included a business roundtable in Abu Dhabi and a visit to the Abrahamic Family House, which is a very important cultural site. We'll see what our next guest knows about that. Joel Anand Samy, host of America's Roundtable and co-founder of the International Leaders Summit, is joining us now. Joel, it's nice to meet you.
A very good morning to you, Scott. It's great to be with you all with SuperTalk Mississippi Media, and truly a historic week indeed for America and the Middle East.
So kind of set the context for why this trip was so important and why President Trump may have chosen to go to these countries on his first official overseas visit.
Yes, Scott. In fact, if we remember, during President Trump's first administration, in fact, the first trip that he made, basically the international trip, was to Saudi Arabia. And he had a great speech. If you can go back to some of the files on the internet and just download that speech, basically he was communicating the importance of building a bridge between America and the Gulf states. And doing so beyond our relationship when it comes to energy with oil and things of that nature, but looking forward. And what did we see right in 2020 was actually President Trump having the UAE, one of the pioneering members of the Abraham Accords, coming together with Israel, Bahrain, Morocco, and other countries to signing this achieving goal of the Abraham Accords, bringing countries together in this very unique peace accord. And in fact, if it wasn't for the untimely and certainly unfortunate passing away of the Pope as President Trump did go to Rome for his visit just a few weekends ago. This will be President Trump's first official visit to a number of countries. So putting into context, he, as you rightfully mentioned, he went to Saudi Arabia, he went to Qatar, and then also finished his tour in the UAE. And these three countries are dynamic countries, but importantly, he began his tour in Saudi Arabia. And we are looking at not just only a partnership on key issues, but most importantly, look at the trade that we have this great potential. When we think about Saudi Arabia, the Gulf states, we sort of think about a peninsula in the Middle East. But what we have to remember is that these Arab nations are connected to 400 million citizens, 400 million consumers for the American market, and also for American exporters and companies. We've got a great potential when we look to the Middle East and to South Asia, like places like India, with a growing population of 1.4 billion people. So President Trump is leading the way on trade, on security, on strengthening economic ties with the Middle East. And it sends a very strong signal to Iran, to China, to disrupt this axis of evil, if you want to call it, or this axis of upheaval that has really caused such problems in the region and to our great trusted ally, Israel.
Well, there are so many implications for peace in the Middle East as a result of this visit and this relationship. But economically, the impact is huge. $2.5 trillion in capital for America. I think the UAE pledged to commit $1.4 trillion. Saudi Arabia, at least $600 million. Qatar, $500 billion. This is this investment larger than the market cap of all but three public companies in the world. It's going to have a major impact in the U.S. economy.
Absolutely, Scott. And that is going to, as we remember John F. Kennedy when he would say, the rising tide lifts all boats. And so this is going to impact every state across the country. The investment coming to America is going to fuel economic growth in America, but also create stronger ties with these Gulf states. And they are innovation centers as well. When you think about what's happening in UAE, in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and we've been there, we've been to the region, we've visited there a number of times, and we can see the dynamism that is taking place. And also, I think that's what President Trump has noticed over the years, is that close relationship is so important. Peace through strength is vital. But when countries trade with one another, when people trade with one another, there is less of a chance of friction, conflict, and wars. And I think that's the beautiful part about what President Trump is doing. And he's doing that just in the first few months of his presidency. Not just only securing our border here in the United States and addressing America's economic issues, bringing inflation down, but when you see, as you've rightfully mentioned, these several trillion dollars of partnership in trade and investment coming into America, that's a big win for America and for our fellow Americans.
There was a little bit of criticism coming from Democrats about the president's business dealings in those same countries. But I think it's that relationship that the president had personally with these same leaders that was that allowed him to strike some of these deals easily. Certainly knew them better than other presidents may have to be able to negotiate these deals with them.
Absolutely, Scott. And if you can remember what Biden had mentioned already in 2020 when he was running for the presidency, he basically said that I will treat the Saudis like a pariah. I will treat Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, as a pariah. And then what happened? At the end of the day, Biden, because of his policies of cutting off fossil fuel growth here in America and then pushing a very radical, extreme green energy, which we really were not able to harvest or harness at all.
Yeah, and
that led
wanted.
to inflation
Consumers didn't
and
even
high
want
energy
it.
costs.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then when you...
We've seen oil prices drop below $60 a barrel already.
Absolutely. And that goes to what you have just mentioned, Scott, so rightfully, those personal relationships. And then when we saw Joe Biden actually go to Saudi Arabia as a beggar, and that did not even there was no real connection that Joe Biden had, in contrast to what President Trump is doing. You're right. He has those personal relationships. And it's important as the leader of the free world to have these deep relationships with people and leaders in the Gulf states, which is so vital for America's security, America's economic interests, and America's future. So President Trump is certainly doing it the right way and leading with principled leadership, rather than what we experienced over the years with Joe Biden. And also, if we go back to the Obama years too, when our allies were undermined at every level of the way.
You know, you mentioned Biden's trip. He kind of went to Saudi Arabia hat in hand, begging them to reduce the price of oil as inflation in America was skyrocketing, and they essentially told him to pound sand. And just through President Trump's own policies, we're seeing oil prices reduce, and that's lowering the cost of goods because transportation costs are lower, and it's costing us as consumers less when we go to fill up our own trucks. So there's a certain style to that negotiating, and I want to, if you could stick around for another segment, talk about that relationship and the greeting that President Trump received, maybe even get into some of the gifts that he received, and most importantly, what it means for peace in the area. We're talking to Joel Anand Samy, host of America's Roundtable. Who's coming up this weekend, by the way, Joel?
In fact, we've got a great leader, principal leader. Tom Garrett is going to be joining us. He was a former member of Congress and a delegate currently of the Commonwealth of Virginia, a brilliant individual, and we look forward to our conversation with him. He's been into the Middle East, and he was spent some time in Ukraine and Syria as well.
You mentioned Syria. We didn't even have a chance to get into that, but historic discussions on reducing some of the restrictions on Syria that have a major impact on the entire region as well.
Absolutely, Scott.
All right, Joel, can you stick around for another segment with us?
Absolutely. Look forward to doing so, Scott.
We're streaming live on supertalk.fm and all of our social media as well. I'm Scott Sands. Mornings with Richard Cross on Supertalk, Mississippi.
We met some girls, some dancers who gave a good time. Broke all the rules, played all the fools. Yeah, they blew my mind. I was shaking at the knees. Could I come again, please? Yeah, the ladies were too kind. Cupid, thunderstruck, 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 thunderstruck.
From the Venom.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm Scott Sands, in for Richard Cross. We'll be back Monday. Joel Anand Samy is joining us this morning. He's the host of America's Roundtable, co-founder of the International Leaders Summit. Before we talk about the prospects of peace and the Abraham Accords, tell me about the context of the greeting that President Trump received in all of these countries, the lavender carpet, the fighter jet escorts, MBS greeting him on the tarmac. These were all changes in protocol from other presidential arrivals.
Absolutely, Scott, and you've mentioned it well. It certainly was not what we were typically used to when you see a president of the United States visiting some of these countries in the Gulf region. And the jet fighter escort certainly was impressive for all to see. But also, you could notice the warmth, the hospitality, the connection that President Trump has developed over the years with these leaders in the Gulf state. And you can just, and as we've been there to that region too, there's a unique cultural dynamic where President Trump was received with open arms as an individual that they have great respect for. And I think that's one of the things that's so important. America is back. America is being respected and appreciated. When you compare that to what Joe Biden was known for, as a very weak leader and not engaging with leaders around the world. But also you can notice the contrast that we have between the Gulf states, or say from the subcontinent of Asia, meaning South Asia, India, and other places, compared to Europe. Europe and European leaders and European citizens have really taken us for granted. But here you see a new day dawning, and the potential of trade, of cooperation, of synergy between America, the Middle East, South Asia is incredible. And great opportunities in that respect for America on the economic side as well.
Obviously, critics are going to say that they were just playing up to his ego, that he loves to compliment people regardless of who they may be. I think that's just part of his style, and you could use the adage that it's easier to catch bees with honey, or whatever the saying is. So were they trying to take advantage of President Trump by showing him all this grandeur, which he obviously soaks up?
Well, on many of our trips, when Natasha and I visit the Gulf states and spend extensive or extended time there, we sense that warmth, that hospitality, that connection that people have with one another. And I think that is certainly an eye-opener for a great number of us in the West when we go there and see this warmth and hospitality. And especially for President Trump, they know him well in the fact that it's not just a new relationship. President Trump, as a business leader, has develop relationships around the world. And as a business leader and an individual that is an unconventional politician, he knows what it is to connect with people. And he knows what it is to develop important personal relationships. And so the showering of respect and honor from Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, expressed to President Trump is certainly welcoming. It's a positive sign, and it's an affirmation of our relationship with these Gulf states and the opportunity of expanding the Abraham Accords. And as President Trump had certainly received all these pledged promises of investments into the U.S. economy with these trillions of dollars that you've mentioned, Scott. Importantly, we would love to see the Abraham Accords expanding with Saudi Arabia joining the Abraham Accords. And that will be a game changer in further, isolating Iran, a state sponsor of terrorism, and some of its allies, even in Eastern Europe, like Croatia, which was selling or trading Iranian oil and fueling terrorism financing. So, from that point of view, this is an exciting time, a new day dawning in the Middle East, and also for America and our fellow Americans as well.
Speaking of Natasha, where is she? Why doesn't your wife like me?
Well, she is doing double duty with a lot of other things. She looks forward to joining you, Scott, and I'm sure that day will come very soon. So she sends you and our engaged listeners on SuperTalk Mississippi Media a warm greeting and a great Friday. That's for sure. She wishes she could have been here with us today.
Oh, tell her I said hi. Well, let's get back to the Abraham Accords and peace in the Middle East. I mean, this is so critical. Israel continued to strike at Gaza this week. Yesterday, more than 100 people were killed, according to some sources. And they still, the Palestinians still hold hostages. President Trump on Air Force One said that it doesn't sound like he's as optimistic that Israel's going to be able to secure the release of any more hostages anytime soon. How do we, these countries, these cultures have been clashing for generations. Is there truly a hope that this peace can come? And obviously the Abraham Accords play a critical role in that.
I would say that through President Trump's leadership and what he has been able to achieve thus far, the promise of peace and security and stability in the Middle East is far greater today than ever before. So as you rightfully mentioned, Scott, about the successful Abraham Accords, in fact, as we've seen what has transpired with these Gulf states, with Saudi Arabia perhaps moving or inching closer to that, and in the conversation that President Trump had with Ahmed al-Shara, the new president of Syria, where Trump extended an invitation to al-Shara to become part of the Abraham Accords, and reportedly he said yes. And even press reports have shared that the senior Israeli Defense Forces and the National Security Council team met with Syrian regime officials in Baku, Azerbaijan, about the possibility of enlarging the Middle East Pact, which is the Abraham Accords. So a lot of good things are happening. Importantly, it will be vital for Israel to get rid of Hamas, to eliminate them once and for all. And also, as you mentioned earlier on about the price of the barrel of oil, which is now in its lower 60s at the moment, which is phenomenal. Well, what does that do? It actually lowers the revenues for Iran. It lowers the revenues for Russia. And that means they have less money to cause mischief, or in this case here, conflicts in supporting their proxies. So, President Trump's policies on all fronts, on the economic front, on the security front, on diplomacy, is making our world safer again. And I think what we will see is a de-escalation of these conflicts in the Middle East. And also, we have to keep in mind, Saudi Arabia is playing a very crucial role with the conflict resolution of Ukraine and Russia. They played a very important role in bringing some of these key parties together with President Trump and through his leadership. So rather than having these discussions in European capitals, the discussion to end the war in Ukraine, Russia, is taking place in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. So the Middle East is playing a very important role. We have a trusted ally, Israel, and we certainly appreciate our very strong partnership based on our common values, our shared interests, our shared principles. We are democratic nations that elevate the importance of the rule of law, protection of property rights, democratic states. So that partnership is secure, and we look forward to growing that for greater stability in the region. And so it's a new day with what Israel did, and actually going after Hezbollah in Lebanon, going after some of these forces in Syria. Actually, Israel is a key partner in securing peace and stability. So we spend less money on our defense budget and more money on trade.
So, Joel, and we've got limited time here, so there's no way we're going to be able to address this completely. And I'm certainly not an expert in Middle Eastern affairs, but it seems like even with the Abraham Accords and getting some of the national support for Israel's sovereignty, that we can't achieve peace with Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis all continuing to attack not only Israel but American interests. And the root of their support of Hamas and Hezbollah is coming from Iran. That seems to be the big problem in the Middle East. And not to sound overly hawkish, but shouldn't we just deal with Iran? And we've been highly unsuccessful at regime change in the past in countries like Iran. But it seems like if we could neutralize them, that's got to be the big step to achieving peace by cutting off the funding for these terror groups.
Indeed. And in fact, if we're able to limit the influence of Iran in the region, that is a great thing, not just only for the region, but for the United States as well, because, they were actually Iran was funding the Houthis. They were attacking commercial vessels, including U.S. Navy vessels. So after 53 days of strategic bombardment in Yemen, all of a sudden the Houthis came and said, listen, we've had enough. We're not going to attack any commercial vessels on the Red Sea. Neither are we going to attack U.S. vessels, Navy vessels. And so peace through strength means principled leadership. And President Trump has shown that. Under the Biden administration, we saw an emboldened Iran where they were getting billions of dollars. And just to keep this in mind, we were seeing Iran under Trump during the first administration just being able to sell 400,000 barrels of oil a day. Under Biden, it was over 3 million barrels of oil a day. So you can just imagine what they did with this extra cash in funding the Houthis, the Hamas, the Hezbollah, and creating havoc. So President Trump is certainly not just ushering a new day here in America, but all around the world. And I would love to see President Trump receive the Nobel laureate for peace for what he is doing. I think he's got a good shot at this.
Hey, Joel, it's been nice to have this conversation. Nice to meet you, and I look forward to our next conversation. Joel Anand Samy, America's Roundtable on Super.
This segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Good morning, everybody. Time to wake up.
Time to shine! Start your day right Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross. How y'all doing? Scott Sands. This segment brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters. You can find me on X at Scott Sands Media. Father Joe Tonos from St. Richard Catholic Church and St. Richard Catholic School is joining us now. Father Joe, it's great to meet you. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been a long time since my last confession.
I didn't got that kind of time, man, but see me after the show. We're going to be all right.
Sunday is the day, 10 days after his election by the College of Cardinals. Pope Leo XIV will be inaugurated. I'm not sure the proper term, and I spent 15 years in Catholic school and Jesuit education in college, so I'm not sure what the proper term is. Yeah. But he'll become the 267th leader of the Catholic Church on Sunday officially. Right.
Yeah, and we do use the word installation. He's already ordained as a bishop. Right. So yeah.
I mean, as soon as the College of Cardinals elected him, he became Pope. I mean, that's it. There's no waiting period.
That's it. Yeah.
So, tell us about what we can expect to see Sunday. This is going to be. I don't know if it'll be as downplayed, perhaps as Francis was, but there's always so much pomp and circumstance and ceremony that's involved with this.
Of course, you'll see all the finery. You'll see the full extent of that royal ceremony for a papal inauguration or installation. But I don't think he's going to follow that real Jesuitical simplicity that Francis exhibited. I think he's kind of falling more in line with his predecessors, Benedict XVI, and on back with some of the more traditional ways of just kind of accepting the office of Pope with all of the the finery,
all the bells and whistles,
all the bells, whistles, incense, smells and bells, all that. Yes, sir.
What's the difference between Leo and Francis? I mean, one was a Jesuit, Leo's an Augustine. I mean, there's some big differences in their philosophies.
I really haven't been able to parse that, but of course, I think so. Real quickly, I think that Pope Francis kind of offered us sort of a nice rupture from this real kind of officious, almost distant sense of the papacy, which for the folks that just kind of keep up with our church on the media, they wouldn't really have kept up much with Benedict XVI. But Francis had a good media machine, but the other thing that Francis did was have a lot of things to say, in particular on social media. And he also was very accessible. And so I think some of that will probably be just kind of limited to Francis's papacy, the washing of the feet of prisoners, the off-the-cuff, sometimes problematic comments he'd make on airplanes. But I think what we'll see with Leo is a little bit more gravity. I think he kind of has a little bit more sense of what he says and how that's going to be translated. But the cool thing is that he speaks English. So where Francis would say something on a plane and then we'd have people scramble to what we call Pope-splain, like, oh, no, he didn't mean that in Italian. It's nuanced. No, in Italian, that really means this. When you speak plain English, it's plain English. So I think Leo's going to kind of give us a real different.
But will he use English? I mean, I think he deliberately avoided anything in English when he came out on the balcony last week because he doesn't want to be perceived as an American Pope. And I think that's one of the things that the American media is trying to, hey, we've got an American Pope. No, he's the Pope for the entire world, for every country. And that's, I think, was a deliberate effort on his part when he spoke to us for the first time, not to use English, to speak in Spanish for his home parish, in Italian, obviously, in Latin. But he doesn't want to be an American president, as historic as it is.
Well, I think he'll probably speak English when it warrants it.
When it suits him.
Yeah, and I also think that he's going to speak English when it comes to an international approach. I don't think he's going to reserve that just, for his brothers. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that.
Yeah. Why did you pick up the phone?
This is the problem. I mean, this is what you don't want to. This is one of the when you elected a pope from America, it comes with all the White Sox baggage. But I also saw a TikTok video of a girl he hooked up with in college on TikTok, which we don't need that.
We do not.
Sure,
need
it may have happened. I don't know how much you could believe a lot of social media, but that's not information we needed to have.
Well, I know, I'm from Greenville, Mississippi, and
right.
After I was ordained, you wouldn't believe the women who dated me and the guys who just hung out with me and had a beer with me. And I didn't know I had that many friends or such a romantic life. So I wouldn't believe what you see. But I do think one thing is that you talk about an American Pope. He is from the United States. And one of the things I think that we will see is that in the United States, we have an incredibly huge Catholic population. And believe it or not, our Catholic population in the United States are really a law-driven. As a growing-up Catholic, you would know that people said, well, this is what the church teaches, this is what you must do, and we take that seriously. I don't think, Central America and Italy do that as much because of their history. So I think, and I'm hoping that Leo will look at what we have, and when it comes to marriage cases, to recognize that we in Jackson, Mississippi, you're going to
divorce is a fact of life.
It is, and in Jackson, Mississippi, someone who grows up in the International Church of Jesus Christ, the Precious Blood, all of a sudden discovers the Catholic Church at age 30 and marries that those laws still apply to that person. And it makes it very difficult for that marriage to happen. So I think Leo's probably going to address that because he understands the United States, probably more so than any pope before.
Well, and church attendance has been declining. I think it's on the increase in many parts of the country now, but it has kind of been on the decline in the U.S. This may rejuvenate the faith in the U.S.
Yeah. Well, I think he's captured the imagination already of some of the young Catholics, kind of what we saw in the previous election in the United States, that young men matter. And I think, people think it's funny, but young men gravitate toward more of a traditional style of liturgy. They don't like, to share their feelings and hold hands and,
Really?
Do you not like that? I mean, I don't like that. Yeah. Yeah. Odd, right? And so they sort of like to know, where the rules are, what the lines are, what the goals are, and I think that Leo has given a kind of a hoorah to a lot of young men, which I'm all for.
I don't know if this is a venial sin, but I did bet on who the next pope would be. You could do that on several betting markets. Got it wrong. I don't think I saw anybody predicting that the pope would come from America. However, I did call out, I think filling in with the bishop, with Bishop Kopaz a couple of weeks ago, that the next pope would take the name Leo, because I saw the socioeconomic ties of Leo the 13th as a continuation of some of Francis's beliefs, but also the reforming elements that the Vatican really needs.
You predicted that?
I did. I did call that.
That's pretty great. Yeah. So Leo the 13th, as you probably know, he was one of those popes that appeared at a new time. It's kind of like a revolution of history, and one of his documents that he's most known for is Rerum Novarum. To address the industrial age. It's not, a lot of people think he's, Karl Marx or something about workers unite, but really it's about human dignity in the midst of an industrial revolution. How can we retain our human dignity, our respect for, human labor, the human family, the work that we do in the midst of machinery and kind of more of a corporate encroachment. And I think it's been said that Leo the 14th will address AI, which is crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you use artificial intelligence to write your homilies?
Is this? I mean, I use my own intelligence,
Right.
I mean, and that's kind of sometimes artificial. But no, I tell you what, I'll be honest with you. I do run it through Chat GPT, and if it looks too rote,
That's fascinating. Really?
Yeah. But I run it through Chat GPT just to see what anybody could get out of it, and if that's what the internets get out of it, I revise it. I try to add something personal that no one would, talk about, like something I saw this week, or I was, at the Kroger or whatever. So that doesn't come up on Chat GPT, but I find it to be something that challenged me to go deeper.
It's a helpful tool. Father Joe from St. Richard, can you stick around for another segment?
Yes, sir. Happy to do so.
Quickly, how do the kids at St. Richard react to the news of the new pope?
They had a fake smokestack with white smoke coming up. They were pretty thrilled. No one chose Leo, as far as I know.
I love that. Father Joe here on Super Talk Mississippi. I'm Scott Sands, in for Richard Cross. C-Spire text line is open for you as well at 601-879-4395. Back in a second.
Is on the way to fly.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center, I'm Patty Steele. Venable Glass in Ridgeland and Brandon, locally owned and operated with free mobile service for you in the Tri-County area. Traffic is moving smoothly. We are all clear with no accidents, no major congestion. Trust your heavy haul transportation needs to Southeastern Services. Years of experience hauling and operating heavy equipment. You can trust their team to handle your jobs with confidence. Call Southeastern Services today, 601-292-9932.
Poly-Up of Mississippi, a division of Ewing and Ray, is in the business of helping customers lift settling driveways, sidewalks, curbs, and pool decks. We are here to help you remedy your drainage problems and trip hazards. Our Poly-Up process at Poly-Up of Mississippi will lift your concrete sidewalks or driveways to safe conditions for typically half the price of replacement with little to no loss of use. Contact us today by visiting polyupofms.com. That's polyupofms.com, or by giving us a call. Poly-Up of Mississippi, we lift concrete with foam.
For the first time ever, Carter Jewelers is allowing you to determine the price. In regard to the remaining jewelry purchased from the Fab Terror bankruptcy, we will be selling this jewelry to a New York liquidator very soon. Before we sell to the liquidators, I am inviting you to come to Carter Jewelers and make an offer on any piece of this jewelry for whatever price you are willing to pay. So if the price you've offered is more than what we expect to get from the liquidation company, and it makes sense, we'll sell it to you. There's almost 1,000 pieces of this Terra jewelry to choose from, and the sale prices we have on it is already a steal. Each piece of this jewelry is gorgeous and beautifully made. So you determine the price sale at Carter Jewelers is going to be on for just a little while. Interest-free and no credit check financing is available, and trade-ins are welcome. Established in 1849 downtown Jackson on High Street, 2 blocks from the Capitol and Pemberton Plaza in Vicksburg. Shop now while we still have this massive selection at Carter Jewelers.
Family Termite is a proud VIP sponsor of the Handyman Show on Super Talk Mississippi. Whether you're a proud DIYer or a seasoned veteran, Mississippi's handyman Buddy Slowick has the answers to your home improvement questions each Saturday from 10 till noon.
Hey, this is Will with Service Specialists. Are you looking for new employees, spending hours searching recruitment sites? For over 50 years, Service Specialists has been connecting hard-to-find qualified candidates for employers. We have candidates for all your administrative, professional, manufacturing, and industrial needs. Check us out online at ServiceSpecialistLTD.com. That's ServiceSpecialistLTD.com. Service Specialists, your expert recruiters helping employers and job candidates connect since 1967.
Service Specialists with offices in Ridgeland, Canton, Oxford, and now open in Columbus.
Let's see if we can make a difference. Join our Keep the Res Beautiful team. Let's do something beautiful for our res community. Let's practice TTT every Tuesday at 12 o'clock. Pick up 10 pieces of litter. Let's be beautiful.
Hey, Richard Cross here with Super Talk Mississippi. Every day at 5 o'clock, catch the College Football Fix driven by Ford and your local Mississippi Ford dealers on Sports Talk Mississippi. Speaking of Ford, how do you create a tradition of leadership? You power it with impressive towing and hauling, sharpen it with smart features like a mobile generator, and dominate the game. 47 years straight. That's Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks. A legacy of excellence only at your local Mississippi Ford dealers.
The Grammy Museum, Mississippi is thrilled to announce that the Taylor Swift Through the Eras exhibit is extending its stay
until August 31st, 2025.
The exhibit has drawn record attendance and captivated visitors since the grand opening in fall of 2024. Sponsored by Visit Mississippi, this exhibit celebrates Taylor Swift's remarkable 19-year music career. Don't miss your chance to step into Taylor's world at the Grammy Museum, Mississippi. To purchase tickets or to learn more about this exhibit and other events, visit
GrammyMuseumMS.org.
This is where the story of your state gets told each day. We're proud to cover the Magnolia State like nobody else. Super Talk, Mississippi. Start your day right.
Good morning, America. How are you?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Streaming audio and video everywhere on supertalk.fm. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. I'm Scott Sands. On X at Scott Sands Media. Father Joe Tonos, the pastor at St. Richard in Jackson, is joining us as we talk about the installation of Pope Leo XIV on Sunday. From a purely bureaucratic side, I don't know how familiar you are with the workings of the Vatican, but will he make major sweeping changes to the administration of the Vatican? I think all of the leaders and the policies essentially roll over, and most of the leadership can stick around if he wants them to.
Yeah. That remains to be seen. I heard yesterday that, one little small detail, he's returning the signature title of Monsignor, which Francis had vacated. So that's kind of, something he's already indicated, which is an honorary title, which shows, again, he's leaning back into that tradition that people will associate with Catholicism. I think it's going to give folks a sense of comfort. As far as his own, advisors and the offices, I do think there needs to be reform. I just don't know which way he's going to go, but I don't think it's going to go to the extremes that people thought Francis was going to go. Francis would go only so far, but thank God not off the cliff.
We have a terrific Monsignor at the parish where I live who gets me back to church because he hosts cigar and bourbon nights at the rectory.
As one does, yes.
It does happen from time to time.
Yes.
Father Joe, you don't have to do this if you're not comfortable, but when the bishop was on, we played a game called Heavy Metal Lyric or Bible Verse. Would you like to give it a shot?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I want to challenge the bishop on this. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, he did request "Hey Joe" for his walkout song, so yeah,
of course
these guys got some skills.
There we go. We'll try.
So I'm going to give you a line, and this is a line from either a heavy metal song or it's a verse from the Bible, and you'll have to tell me which one it is. You don't have to name the band if it's a heavy metal lyric, just heavy metal lyric or Bible verse with Father Joe.
All right.
Here's the line. Their stain shall also be cast out, and their stench shall rise up of their corpses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood.
Oh, that's totally Haley Stansfield. No, just kidding. That's a Bible.
It is. It's Isaiah 43.
Yes.
How about this one? The sky is turning red. Return to power draws near. Fall into me the sky's crimson tears. Abolish the rules made of stone.
That would be metal.
Yeah, it's Slayer from a song called Raining Blood. Are you a big Slayer fan?
Not at all, but thanks for playing.
In those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
Bible.
Revelation 9. Pretty good at this. We can do one more here.
One more.
I can feel it burn inside of me. Tormented young with no souls haunting me. Pain in their lives, all they know is misery. Take these claims away that are holding me down.
That would be metal.
Avenged Sevenfold is the band that did that one.
Man, yeah, okay.
You're pretty good.
Yeah.
You're pretty good at this.
Yeah. I read the Bible sometimes. That contrary to popular belief, we Catholics read the Bible. We wrote the Bible. We've got the director's cut in our Bible. So,
did the Catholics really write the Bible?
Did we really write it? Well, we imprimatur it. We kind of stamped it. We've got the director's cut in ours. We've got the extra footage. The Snotter cut. We've got the Snotter cut of the Bible.
With the installation of Pope Leo on Sunday, where do you think the church needs to focus moving forward to grow and to re-engage many of us like myself who are lapsed Catholics?
Well, I think that is an encounter with Jesus Christ, to be honest with you. I think that it's the voice that's crying out in the desert has been silenced by so many things, because there's so much good out there that some people just say, I'm good enough. I mean, I'm not killing anyone, live my own life, look out for the things I need to look out for. But the gospel calls us to be saints. There's a difference between being a good person and a saint. So when people says, I'm not a saint, my question is, but why not? So I think, like every pope has tried to call us to sanctity, to be saints. And sometimes just our sentimental attitude sometimes drops it to, I'm just going to love you as you are, and you just keep on doing what you do. And I think people appreciate, just kind of kicking in the game a little bit, moving toward sanctity, moving toward holiness, moving toward their own reception into heaven, hopefully.
Well, I think we've all become so self-absorbed sometimes that becomes a challenge.
Yes, sir.
Father Joe, so nice to meet you, and thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate the conversation.
Okay, we'll have confession right after the show, man. Looking forward to it.
Perfect. I have overshared so much that I could probably do the confession on the air live and be fine with it.
Bring it. 10 Hail Marys.
It's going to be more than that, Father. It's going to be several full rosaries.
I'm easy on you, brother.
How can people find your Mass times?
Just go to saintrichard.com and Mass times. You can email me. You can send me memes, pictures of the Pope's ex-girlfriends, whatever you want to do. I'm good with it.
State Rep Price Wallace will join us next hour. Super Talk Mississippi News and Fox News here at the top of the hour on Super Talk Mississippi.
Morning. Good morning to you there.
Okay, up and at 'em.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Sometimes I lead, sometimes I follow. This time I go where she wants me to go.
Friday morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. I'm Scott Sands, sitting in for Richard, who'll be back Monday. Trying to keep an eye on the futures market before the opening bell, and it looks like we're up from the overnight lows and might finish with the fifth green week. It looks like the S&P is going to try to hit 6,000 today. We'll let you know how it opens here in about 25 minutes. State Rep Price Wallace is joining us now on Super Talk Mississippi. It's nice to meet you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Good to meet you, Scott. Thanks you for asking me to be here this morning.
So let's just start with some of the obvious stuff. I mean, there's a special session that's going to be required. How much progress is getting done behind the scenes today?
That's a very good question. I haven't really heard anything. I do know that the powers to be are having meetings. I'm hear that today's possibly going to be maybe the last meeting. We might know something next week, but that's not for sure.
So what seems to be the holdup?
It's the capital expense money. The funds that we asked for our local area for projects that needs to be done. And, the lieutenant governor just, was not wanting to spend those funds. Well, and I understand some of his reason, but like where I'm at, it's very rural. I don't have a whole lot of industry in my district. And, my little small towns have things that they need done, like infrastructure help. I have one little small community here that the community house, which happens to also be the voting precinct, is and this needs some major repair done on it. And I put in a request for funds to help them, fix their community house up. I mean, the citizens use it. Like they'll have family reunions and it is very historical because it is the original town hall building for the city of Deland. So, it's things like that, that not only just me, but other members in the house that live in rural areas and doesn't have a lot of industry, for your taxes. Like, those funds come back to help our people, help our areas. And so, I feel like they need to look at that. And, I understand, they're worried about what might happen from Washington as far as cuts and things. But, we have the funds. We're not going to use all of them. We just wanted some of them. So I think that's the biggest holdup.
Well, and it's so important, and I think it's great for the state to eliminate the income tax, but that does create some concerns about the money that you have and how it's spent, and infrastructure is got to be a big priority. I'm glad you mentioned that. I saw the story last night of a bridge collapse in Franklin County. Infrastructure is crumbling, not just in Mississippi, but around the country.
Oh, that's very true. Very true. And, that's one of the reasons why in our tax bill that, we put in a 3-cent gas tax increase for the next 3 years. And that gives, MDOT some money that they need to keep our infrastructure going. And, I know people say, well, you don't need to raise gas tax. Well, you get people passing through here, especially in my area, that's going to Florida during the summer. Those people are from out of state. They're contributing to our tax base, but they're traveling on our roads and they're tearing them up just as much as the local folks. So I don't have a problem with that 3-cent gas tax because it's going to go to improving our infrastructure, which like I said, definitely needs to be done.
Well, and around the country, there's also a debate about property taxes, which have grown out of control in some areas, but that's a large part of the local tax base as well.
That's very true. Ours is high. I live on a farm, but yeah, my property taxes went up. It's gone up practically every year.
Yeah, and if you own a farm, you've got so much land that your taxes are probably going to be a little bit higher, and we've seen how the agricultural industry in Mississippi has been suffering the last few years.
Oh, that's true. Long hours, like your forest land is not taxed as much as production land, although, it's still considered a farm. But, if it's in production, it's taxed differently, which everybody knows that. But then, like in my instance, I'm a poultry farmer, so I have poultry houses sitting on my farm. So that makes my taxes even higher.
So, I'm coming in, returning to Mississippi for the last 3-4 months since I've been guest hosting here on Super Talk Mississippi and re-familiarizing myself with politics in the state. And I don't mean to put you on the hot seat, but it seems to me, coming in from the outside, like a lot of the holdups in the legislature have come from the lieutenant governor's office. Am I seeing that wrongly?
No, sir. But the majority of the holdups has come from the lieutenant governor's office.
Can we put the finger on why that might be?
I can't, and I don't think there's many other folks that can either. But somebody knows what's going on. Somebody can put their finger on it. But I definitely know that I'm not that person.
So, as a farmer, and especially since you've got chickens, we talked to the ag commissioner a few weeks ago when I was guest hosting on the show. At the time, I was concerned about egg prices, which have come down. Chicken industry is an important part of the state revenue, of the state exports. Have you seen an impact coming in from tariffs, from what the federal level, the Department of Agriculture is doing for that industry?
I haven't, because I'm in meat production of the poultry side of the business, and I contract with an integrator and raise their chickens for them. So as far as the tariffs going, I won't see it. I do know that right now the chicken industry is they're moving a great amount of product. I just recently sold last week my 6-house farm. They come and picked them up for production. I'm getting my birds back next Friday, so that's a short window of time that you're out. When you're out a short period of time, like anywhere from 12 to 14 days, that means they're moving a lot of meat. Now, when it starts spreading on out there to like 21 days, then you kind of know that they got plenty of meat and they're kind of cutting back on production. But right now, they're producing as much as they can.
Talking to State Rep Bryce Wallace here on Super Talk Mississippi. We've got Dr. Lance Evans on the show later this hour. School choice has been a hot issue in the state as well. Will we see that legislation move forward?
I think it's going to come back next session. I'm for school choice. I mean, I think that if there's a school in an area that's doing better than where your child is going, you should be able to move that child to that better performing school, whether it be public or private or charter. But then I also say this, that the school that they're looking at sending them to has, should be able to say, yeah, we can take them, or no, we can't take them.
And I think it's important to continue providing parents with those options in their child's education to continue the improvements that we've seen in the so-called Mississippi Miracle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I just saw on the news this morning that the third grade readers, I forgot what the number was, but I mean, it was, their test scores were just way up this time. I mean, so, I commend our educators and the work you're doing. It's showing when the people around the nation is starting to notice what's going on in the state of Mississippi with our education. It means we're doing something that's doing it right, and we're doing it right.
Yeah, this is our first date. I wanted to wrap up and let you tell us what's happening in Rankin County, Simpson County. What's happening in your area right now and for the summer?
Well, right now, we're going through graduations. Kids are getting out of school. They're starting their summer break. We're a matter of fact, we're having our fallen officers memorial service today here at 1:30 in Simpson County to honor those men and women that have given the ultimate sacrifice to keep us safe here in the state of Mississippi. So that's then just getting ready for a special session whenever we find out when that's going to be.
Good luck with that. We need to move things forward. On X at Bryce Wallace. It's great to meet you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
We will talk to Dr. Lance Evans here in about 20 minutes on Super Talk Mississippi. I'm Scott Sands.
From the Venable Glass.
Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On Super Talk Mississippi.
I'm Scott Sands, sitting in for Richard this morning. You can find me on X at Scott Sands Media. Lance, we are less than 100 days away from the greatest time of the year, in my opinion, and that's college football season.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this story. This is out of Ohio. There's a state rep that has filed a piece of legislation that would make it criminal for Ohio State Buckeye games to begin at noon. This is I mean,
first world problems there.
Right. Work on abolishing the state income tax in Ohio, something a little bit more important. But because Ohio State has this deal, I think it's with NBC, they keep scheduling big noon kickoffs. Or is that Fox? Fox or NBC? One of the networks keeps putting the Buckeyes on at noon, and I think like 80% of their schedule is a noon kickoff. And I don't know that I see a problem with this. I mean, I love night games.
The heat will get you at some point, as you that early part of the season. But yeah, as you get into the cooler months, I mean, a lunch game is awesome. I mean, especially in Ohio, where you get snow, like real snow and real cold. I mean, I'd take that midday game all day long. But they want that TV primetime spot because they are the Ohio State University.
They're so full of themselves. The bill that Tex Fisher filed.
Fisher from Ohio.
I'm not making that up. Would say that no game is allowed to start before 3:30 in the afternoon when the Buckeyes are playing an AP top 10 team. And if there is a game scheduled, the Big Ten or the network broadcasting the game would be fined $10 million.
How about they? Yeah, I mean, I'm curious how a state is going to be able to mandate that to a national, a national brand. I'm curious how that'll work out.
I mean, it's obviously not going to go anywhere, but this is the same state legislature that wanted to also make it a crime to plant the winning team's flag at midfield if you're defeated at home.
This guy sounds like he's a little bit of a fanboy, more than a legislator.
A little bit of a Buckeyes fan. As I said, they're a little full of themselves in Columbus, and I guess that'll happen if Michigan beats them 4 years in a row. Ooh. But in my, I like to rib the Buckeyes.
You're ribbing them. There may be one around in Mississippi. You never know.
There might be. The night games at Ole Miss and in Starkville and even in Hattiesburg. It's a great environment. But I don't understand the problem with a noon game because you could start tailgating at dawn like people do and have time to take a nap after the game before you go out to celebrate the win, right?
Well, I mean, like Mike in Columbus says.
Looking at that wrong.
Yeah, like Mike in Columbus says, nostalgic makes me say college football is better in the daytime. Nothing better than a 12 o'clock Saturday arriving, So, I mean, I loved a midday game. It left the evening for you to do something else, and it just everything seems so I don't know, condensed, when you get into those night games, everything's so pulled and packed in and everything. It just didn't spread out very much, I guess. And it is a long day, too. If you've ever been to an Ole Miss or State game where you get up at 10 a.m. and
you don't want to be drinking at the
Grove,
starting at 8 o'clock in the morning for an 8 p.m. kickoff.
That's it gets ugly.
Stupid.
Yeah, it gets ugly. Yeah, there will be a lot of people napping in the lounge chairs in the yard, the yard chairs and all that. It turns into a long day. It really does. So.
When I lived in California, I did enjoy college football would start at 9 o'clock in the morning and go till midnight with the West Coast games.
Oh, so I love that. Yeah,
that aspect of it was great.
As long as I'm at the house watching them,
are fine. There might be a reduction in some of the problems if you cut the drinking in the parking lot time down from 12 hours to 3 hours.
It makes a big difference, but I love college football, but I've gotten to where I really spend a lot more time watching and paying attention to high school football in Mississippi. It's such an amazing and deep sport as far as talent is concerned. Mississippi has come a long way in the last 10, 20 years throwing the football around. You still have a lot of teams that run it a good bit, but there's such a vast number of teams that have such different skill sets, great coaches, great kids. And, they're homegrown. They're right here. So I've really spent a lot more time in the last 5, 6, 7 years paying attention to the high school season. And I'm excited about high school football this year. There'll be some changes in the MAIS classifications, which is your private schools. And but, yeah, it'll be fun. I mean, it's between college and high school football, it's an amazing, season. And then you have a really high-level football played amongst the Mississippi community colleges. And so you really, here it's a feast of for the senses if you're a football fan, because you got 2 SEC teams, a Sun Belt team, several HBCUs, some D2 styles, some great programs. But then you get down to the community colleges, and don't sleep on those guys, man, because there's some quality that gets played there and a lot of talent. So I'm fired up about it. We'll have a little lull here, which is good. You need it between the end of baseball and the start of football, but to get you ready to go for football season, you need that energy because it's a long season.
And it's not as long as the NHL and NBA seem.
Well, yeah,
I'm sure they're probably about the same, but perceptually it just seems like NHL and NBA seasons last forever and then immediately start back up, and football goes by so quickly. And obviously I'm biased. That's the favorite sport that I like to watch, but college football season seems to end way too soon, although it's gotten longer over the last few years.
It has. I mean, sports seems to go on forever. I mean, people want to be entertained, right? So, yeah, it's just going to there's always a sport going on there, it seems, other than for like a couple of weeks. And then you have the winter switch over, from football. You have basketball that's lingering, still there, but baseball hadn't kicked off and football's in it. So you got that month and a half, almost 2 months where it's really just basketball. And not that I'm not the greatest basketball fan. In other words, it's hard to watch. Much more fun to shoot and play than it is to watch it for me. So, but yeah, that 1.5, 2 months there around January, February, you went, all right, come on, baseball, let's go. Because you're so used to having a feast of riches as far as sports is concerned, then you just kind of die there. Same way at the end of the summer, you get a little dead spot.
We seem to be getting more off-field drama in college sports too. I don't know, and I don't really care about this, but it's been fascinating to watch Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson's relationship play out in the media over the last few months. And I haven't had a chance to watch this yet. Bill Belichick was on Good Morning America today.
It's a mess, isn't it?
If you remember the last time he tried to do an interview and Jordan Hudson, his 24-year-old girlfriend, stepped in, so there was going to be questions about this relationship. And I've seen posts on social media. I don't know how true they are. You don't know what to believe sometimes, that she's been banned, or there's talk of banning her from UNC because she's been involved in football practice, and maybe she should not be. But
it didn't work out well for Ed Orgeron. When Ed Orgeron was inviting his new girlfriend to the practices and her son was taking part in drills and everything. Yeah, that season went off the rails pretty quickly, and he was out the door. So we'll see how this works out for Belichick, Big B.
Who is undeniably one of the greatest coaches in football. We'll see how that translates to college.
Yeah, I mean, if his mind is set on that 24-year-old girlfriend, I'm not sure he's still the best coach in football, because there seemed to be some edge that he had for the longest time. He never smiled, and he always looked like he was wearing a 40-year-old sweatshirt cut up. Now he's all polished and hair's combed over. He smiles a lot and seems to have softened a bit as he's dated a
and
younger lady.
That may be her influence.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's a winning recipe for him, though. Because we'll see.
But you're now recruiting college kids in a world of social media, so that kind of makeover might help in the process. I don't know how polished he looks. He was wearing a torn T-shirt on that last interview.
Yeah, well, you're right. The picture I saw yesterday of him with his girlfriend, I'm like, he looks like he's happy and smiling, and that's not a face you ever saw when he was the head coach for the Patriots. He's over chewing his teeth up. He's always seemingly very intense and all that. But he does seem to have turned over a new leaf. We'll see if that equals wins in college football. But the drama, I don't know. My last experience watching that was the Ed Orgeron debacle unfold, and you could see it coming. It was all this kind of stuff. Your little dots.
And look, I'm not going to judge this age gap relationship by any means, but it certainly seems somewhat transactional to me. And I have not heard the audio. I haven't seen how his tone and inflection of his voice was when asked about what the relationship means to him. But apparently on Good Morning America, he said that the two of them, he and Jordan Hudson, have a good personal relationship. And when asked if he was happy, Belichick said, yeah. Now that's the typical Belichick answer to a question like that, is just a simple yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, that seems very cold. If it were more intimate, you would think that he would gush on her a little bit more or be a little bit more glowing, but that's also not Belichick's style, which is, I think, why we've all been paying attention to this.
Yeah, it's
we'll
so
see whether or
bizarre,
not
isn't it? I mean, the whole thing.
It's just, and again, I'm not going to judge them if she's using him for money and he's aware of that. Then if they're happy, let them be happy at the end of the day. Dr. Lance Evans will join us next year on Super Talk Mississippi.
I be a man and gone. I be a man and gone. He left the county for me, had his shackles on. Now, baby, please.
Talk Mississippi. Super Talk Mississippi.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Here we go. Now back to mornings with Richard Cross.
now that's entertainment.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Well done, Lance. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. I'm Scott Sands. Dr. Lance Evans is joining me. He's the Superintendent of Education in the state. It's nice to meet you, sir. Thanks for coming on today.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
I heard you talking with Lance off air.
It's hard to listen to that song and not smile, isn't it?
It's, it brings back so many memories. I heard you talking with Lance, and it looks like you're ready for golf today.
Trying. Well, it'll be this weekend. Planning on playing a golf tournament with my son in Pontotoc. If it doesn't rain us out, they're predicting some rain, so hopefully it'll hold off.
We were talking about my horrible golf game earlier today. I played yesterday, played 9 holes, and I have not improved in 20, 25 years of playing. So bad. Love to play, though.
Yeah, it is. It's like I tell people, though, I don't get paid to do that. That's for enjoyment. It's right. Even though it's frustrating at times.
So, Dr. Evans, you've been in this role for, less than 2 years now, and you took over with a lot of challenges in the state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually this July the 1st will be the 1-year anniversary, if you will, of the position. And we did have some challenges, but the great thing is in Mississippi, we overcome most any challenge that someone puts before us. And a lot of it was just there wasn't necessarily some consistency there. And we were able to come in and put that in place and know that there's going to be longevity in the position. And it's been great because it's a department we've moved really fast. I'm that type of a person, pretty impatient, like to go fast. And it's been, just a great experience. It took takes a couple of months to kind of get the flow of things because it is different in an state agency versus a district. There's tremendous differences there is how the daily operations work, but it's been really, really good. We found our groove after about 2 months, and we've been rolling full speed.
I was talking about the so-called Mississippi Miracle on Wednesday when I sat in for Gerard. The state is number 1 in the nation for improvements in grade reading and math over the last 10 years, I believe. What's allowed that growth to happen so quickly? Has it been specific policies? Obviously, you're inheriting a lot of those initiatives as well, but how would you credit that success?
So I would say the Literacy-Based Promotion Act, 2013, I tell people Mississippi got really serious about education. Not that we weren't serious before, but we got really serious about measuring and ensuring outcomes and put a coaching model in place from the one that obviously we're most known for as a state is the literacy coaching model. Our goal is to build capacity of teachers. Our model is not geared up around tutoring. Districts do that in their districts, but we're geared up around building the capacity of the human beings that are teaching our students. And one other thing I'll say is I think really attributed to a lot of this work is that where a lot of states were going towards choice, Mississippi said, no, we're going to put those dollars in our public educators instead of pushing it that direction. And that really has paid off. I mean, I think you can see that commitment from our legislature back years ago, and that's still that commitment that we have towards public education is really paying off because it helps provide the resources that we need in order to be successful in our schools across the state.
You mentioned teachers. When you took over the position, I believe the state had a teacher shortage of about 5,000 educators. It's a challenge not just in Mississippi, but around the country to recruit teachers. How do you address that problem?
It is. So a couple of ways, and you are absolutely correct. That's not a problem. This is proprietary just to Mississippi. We see that nationwide. Obviously, continuing to stay at the forefront of teacher pay is a huge part because obviously it doesn't come down to money, but people obviously have bills and the cost of living goes up. So we have to continue to keep pace there. It's very important. Another thing is making sure that we're working with our teachers earlier in their career. So there's a couple of initiatives at the department that we've put in place. One that we're working through right now is the department having the opportunity to be more involved in that junior, senior year of our students that are in our universities. One of the things that I have a real issue with is, and again, not to be negative towards anyone choosing to go to another state, but I really have issue with our universities training our teachers here, them going through our programming here, and then being recruited by other states. Because it turns into a recruitment process, and lots of times when we're younger, it also does come down to dollars and decision making sometimes. So making sure that we're able to get access to them earlier and build those relationships to help keep those teachers here, because it's when you're in a tough spot anyways from having certified teachers, and then we start bleeding them off to surrounding states. It hurts. It hurts the bottom line, if you will, not necessarily financially, from the bottom line as far as like the number of teachers that we have, our students have access to.
Yeah, well, not to confuse, I mean, the cost of living is low in Mississippi compared to other states, but also without an income tax, that may be an incentive to keep people in the state as well as that moves forward.
Mm-hmm. That the potential is there. Yes, sir.
Dr. Lance Evans here on Super Talk Mississippi. I think another important number, statistic that's not getting the attention it deserves as you talk about the literacy and math rates in the state is the graduation rates, reaching, I believe, an all-time high, nearly 90% in the last year that I saw. What are you doing to ensure graduates are college-ready, career-ready, whichever the path they choose to take?
Yeah, and I'm proud you brought that up because we've been outpacing the nation for, don't quote me on this, but the last 3 years, I'd have to look at the graphic again to remind myself. But honestly, that's a testament directly to the districts and finding ways to be nimble and flexible and making sure we're meeting the needs of our students. But we have to continue to find ways, I have a saying, I call it creating pathways of success with no dead ends for all students because we all, the ultimate goal is entering the workforce, and also staying in Mississippi and being productive and contributing back to society and helping build the state. But students, you have the students that want to leave from high school to go directly into the workforce, those that want to leave and go to the community college and then into the workforce and then the community college and right to the university and the students at the university. And we have to make sure that we're creating viable pathways and a systematic process across the entire state because we have great things happening across our state. We have more innovative things that are happening in pockets, and that's one of the reasons we created the Office of School and District Transformation is to help leverage that across the state to make sure that we're creating the programming because MDE has to work to stay relevant because we're a local control state. Our districts make the decisions for themselves. They have boards, obviously, but we have to create the programming and help steer the ship. And one of the ways that we do steer that ship is through the accountability model, which obviously, that's always at the forefront of most conversations. Politically, obviously, it seems like it's always on the top 3 list as well. But coming back to those, the literacy gains and math gains, we have seen that great success in 4th grade and also have seen success in 8th grade. We have not seen the success we would like to see. So what you'll see moving forward is an extension of the Literacy-Based Promotion Act to include a 4 through 8 literacy. I have a meeting today to finish working out some of the final decision-making pieces in it, and we'll be bringing that, looking for legislation, and it will mimic similarly that of the K-3 Literacy-Based Promotion Act with the coaching model, but it looks a little different because of obviously it's 4th through 8th grade, so that approach has to look a little different, and also integrated K through 12 math reform, which will have a focus particularly more than likely in grades 2 through 6 And that's based on just looking at the assessment data that we have across our state and seeing what the greatest areas of need are. So you'll see there's already one that's taking place from a math standpoint, but it'll be much more targeted moving forward.
So there's been a lot of talk nationally about eliminating the Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education. So how are you preparing to maintain funding, accountability? I believe, and check my numbers on this, I think Mississippi gets about $240 million for low-income students, maybe about $130 million for special ed. How do you make up for that shortfall if the DOE goes away?
Well, I don't know that it would completely go away. I think the shock and awe of that statement, obviously draws attention to the conversation. I do think that there, just based on the experiences that I've had, I do think there'll be some level of oversight, if you will.
I don't think the money goes away completely. I think it's just reallocated differently, and states are given more control over that funding.
Yeah, and usually, most likely in the form of block grants that might come to the states. There really has, right now, the center of the conversation from federally around dollars has been around the ESSER dollars and the late liquidation and the withdrawing of that, that ability to late liquidate those dollars. So that has been a huge issue in our state, because that's about 138 million that we were guaranteed that late liquidation has been pulled back from. But we are definitely, if they were to say, hey, we're flipping the switch off at USDE and you got a week to figure it out, I feel as though we at the department would turn it over, and we would be scrambling, and we're in the process of, we've had those conversations, but you really don't know exactly what that looks like because they haven't given enough guidance yet.
Can you stick around for another segment? I got some more questions.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Lance Evans, Superintendent of Education. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. I'm Scott Sands.
From the
It's time to switch on.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Yeah!
Richard's back on Monday. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. Scott Sands here. You can find me on X at Scott Sands Media. Dr. Lance Evans, the Superintendent of Education for the state, is joining us this morning. Dr. Evans, this is something that's growing in popularity, for lack of a better word, around the country. I think 15 states so far have enacted laws banning or restricting cell phone use in schools. In Mississippi, you got a lot of districts that have their own policies. There's been some action in the legislature, although nothing's been done yet to ban cell phones. I have mixed feelings on this. I understand parental concerns about being able to contact kids, but I think especially social media has been so harmful, not just for the youth, but for all of us who are on social media quite frequently, that taking that distraction away might be good for the educational experience, but also for mental health in schools.
Yeah, actually, I think I saw yesterday or the day before where Alabama, I think, signed some legislation into place to ban cell phones. And you're absolutely correct. There was a book really that got a lot of the conversation started called the title of it's the anxious generation. Can't talk this morning, but and it really got a lot of those conversations started. And we had both legislation on both the House and the Senate side this year that it died. Obviously, don't know if any of that will be brought back up in the special session that we anticipate will happen sometime towards the end of May, hopefully. So, in the beginning of that conversation statewide, I was kind of like you. I was kind of on the fence, if you will. But I've got several advisory groups, student advisory groups, teacher advisory groups, principal advisory groups, and superintendent advisory groups. And I'll tell you the consensus, I really listen to those students and those teachers, because they're the ones I always say at the end of the day, they're the ones that make it happen. When the door shuts, they're the ones that have to pull all this off. And there's a lot of issues. And I did not realize how strongly many of our teachers felt about it. But you are right. Districts have their own policies currently, and some are very restrictive. Can't be there, period. Doesn't matter. End of the day, beginning of the day. And then some have, and what seems to be kind of the consensus of what districts do is out of sight type deal, so it could be on your person. And this is what years ago, this is how it was anyways. When I was an elementary, high school principal, it was hey, keep it in your bag, keep it turned off, because after school, if you're young, you got to be picked up. Parents need to know where you are. But obviously the world has evolved to, and let's be honest, we talk about it just being a student issue, but you alluded to this earlier. It's as much of an adult issue. Is anything else with the social media piece, and even just the phone in general. I tell people, if I lose my phone, we're locking the building down till we can find it, because it's such a it's such a connection, right, to work and it's just it's a huge shift in culture to take that away.
I'm older than you, Dr. Evans. There are times where I wish we would have had social media and smartphones when I was in high school. I would have more memories saved that I could look back on, but also the distractions. And I've talked to a lot of kids that are dealing with the same issue, and they're opposed to losing their cell phones in schools as it's being discussed. But once it's been implemented, it's almost like it's a relief that they don't have to worry about that at that point, and they begin to appreciate the fact that they don't have access to their phones during school hours.
And a lot of the students, what I've heard is very similar to what you just said. It's not that they don't want to not, put it away during instructional time. I think it's a safety net, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I see it. And they know that because they know they can get access to someone or something if they need it. Which, I remember the days when I was growing up. I'm 47. I remember the days when I was growing up to where it was nothing but a payphone. And if you needed to get hold of somebody when you were at school, you had to go beg the office.
You make a collect call to your mom. Collect call from mom. Pick me up at the skating rink.
Yeah,
that's how I got the message across.
Yeah, the little town I grew up in had one payphone. So if you were out and about, there was always a line at the payphone. So,
Dr. Evans, great to have you on. I appreciate your time, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And Lance, thank you. That's going to wrap it up for me today. My name is Scott Sands. It's great to be back on the radio in my home state of Mississippi. You can find me on X at Scott Sands Media. I'll actually be filling in for Gerard again next week, and Richard, I think, next Friday.
Man, you can be busy. You're not going to have enough time. You're not going to have a lot of golf time next week.
No, I still got my Thursday 9-hole golf league where we don't keep score. And
I
that's
love the
just
9-hole. That's about my speed, right now. 9 holes, I got you.
Isn't that that's the perfect amount of time? Yeah. And I love playing in some of these scrambles, but you get a scramble where you got 100 teams competing, and it takes you 8 hours to play around a golf. That's just ridiculous.
Well, I'm wishing Dr. Evans and his son a very wonderful round tomorrow, and I hope they are victorious. I think he's the putter of the group, and the son may be the long hitter. So we'll be rooting for you guys, Doc. Hey, great job today, man. It's always fun to see you and be a part of this.
And thank you to Will and Cammie and Alex and you, Lance, and everybody at SuperTalk Mississippi for inviting me on. And thanks to Richard for letting me sit in and ruin his 3-hour reputation on Friday mornings. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you with Gerard next Wednesday. And meanwhile, you can find me on all the social medias. Have a great Friday and a great weekend. Stay safe, everybody.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.